Hello guys, welcome to my new video. My name is Katrin, I am a front-end developer living in Germany. I do vlogs and tech tutorials. In today's video I want to share a front-end roadmap with you. I've been working as a front-end developer for 6 years and I want to share with you what I think you actually need to learn in order to become one. I'm also going to include front-end roadmaps that I found in the description below so you can have a look at it. But in this video I want to share my personal opinion, what I think makes sense to learn and what in my opinion might be too much. I will also try to explain what it actually means to be a front-end developer, because I think that some of you might be in the very beginning of your journey and still deciding which direction to choose. If that's the case, I hope this video helps you understand a little bit better what I do in my work. So first, let's understand what a front-end developer actually is in a simple word. A front-end developer is someone who is responsible for building everything you see and you interact with on a website or application. The layout, which means how the website looks, the buttons, the menus, the animations. If you can click it, scroll it, interact with it, a front-end developer created it. So most front-end developers work with HTML in order to structure the page, CSS to make it look good, and JavaScript to make it interactive. So usually the business logic is handled with JavaScript. But it's not only about making things look nice. Sometimes you hear things like, oh, front-end development is so easy, I don't want to do it, I want to be a back-end developer, because you do not work with any logic in front-end development, which is absolutely not true. In reality, you work with many technologies and you need to make decisions in different areas. You write logic, you think about architecture, and you need to use your critical thinking all the time. For example, often you need to decide if some logic should be handled in front-end or moved to backend. And sometimes it means that you need to talk and convince a backend developer that some logic should be handled there. Except for it, a good front-end developer also makes sure that the website or the application works on all devices, is easy to use, and is accessible to everyone. And in real life, you never work alone. You need to have good communicational skills and you need to collaborate with many people. For example, you work a lot with designers, but it doesn't mean that you blindly implement everything that a designer tells you. You communicate about everything. You point out what potential problems a new feature might have and suggest improvements. If you see that something can be built with better UX or made more accessible, you discuss it with the designer. Sometimes you are the one who can say stop and that we need to rethink the feature. You also work a lot with backend developers to connect data, request changes, or suggest better data structures. And you also collaborate with product managers to build the right features and to communicate the problems early on. So to sum up, you turn ideas and designs into real working experience that people can actually use. So now let's move on to what you actually need to learn in order to become a front-end developer. First of all, start with foundations, how the web actually works. It might sound unusual, but in the beginning, before you even start with HTML, CSS or JavaScript, you should understand what happens when you type an URL. What is HTTP? What is browser? Why do we have different types of browsers? Why do they behave differently? What is DNS? What is hosting? You do not need to go super deep into these topics, but understanding them gives you context for everything else. Because believe it or not, even in interviews, these basic questions can come up. And when you are making decisions or dealing with bugs, this knowledge can actually help you a lot. After that, you move to the basics of front-end development, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The great thing is that compared to backend development, you do not need to choose between different languages in the beginning. You just focus on these three. All modern technologies, they are based on JavaScript. It becomes your foundation. For example, HTML is your skeleton. You will learn learn semantic tags like header, section, and article, when to use them, how to structure a page, and how things are organized. You will also learn about forums, what they consist of, and the basics of accessibility. This is actually your superpower. If your HTML knowledge is bad, then everything else becomes much harder. Make sure to learn it properly. After that, you move on to CSS. This is where most beginners struggle, but on the other hand, that's also where you can stand out. I want to tell you that you don't need to become a CSS expert. There are developers who specialize on these things and they do incredible jobs. Magic, really. But for solid front-end role, you should focus on flexbox and grid, responsive design, basic animations, and modern CSS features like variables, sass, less. Also, don't copy designs. Try to rebuild real websites in order to understand how things really work. For example, why sometimes we use paddings and sometimes margins, why sometimes we use borders and sometimes outlines. So all those small details, they make a big difference. And again, you don't need to go super deep in the beginning. And finally, you need to learn JavaScript. This is where you become a developer. You will learn variables, functions, arrays, objects, DOM manipulation, events, asynchronous, JavaScript like promises. Because frontend, it is not only about design, it's also about behavior. JavaScript is a very tricky language, so make sure you understand the fundamentals very well, especially things like how promises work, what the event loop is, and how asynchronous code behaves. In many cases, bugs come from the edge cases you wouldn't even expect. And during interviews, those kinds of questions are very common. To sum up, make sure you understand their core concepts, even without going too much deep, at least in the beginning. After that, you can already start building small projects and you need to upload them somewhere. This is the point where you learn basics of Git, how to commit, to create branches, merge, and manage your projects on GitHub. In most cases, developers work with Git. There might be different tools like GitLab, but the core concept is the same. At this stage, you can also get familiar with package managers like npm, pnpm, yarn, but you do not need to understand them in depth yet. Just know that they exist and what they are used for. Then you can move to learning what APIs are, because your app usually needs real data and this data mostly comes from the backend. So you need to understand what an API is. It doesn't mean you need to learn how to build one, but you should understand how it works, how to fetch data from it, what JSON is, and how to handle errors and different status codes. There are many open APIs that you can connect to your small app. For example, Weather API is a very easy one to start with. There are many others as well, and this is where you can really test things and get a taste how real projects work. After that, it's time to learn a framework. You should pick one framework, for example, React, Vue, or Angular. In my personal opinion, React is the best option. Okay, maybe not the best one, but definitely the most popular one, and I am pretty sure it's not going anywhere anytime soon. That's why I think if you learn React, it will be much easier for you to find a job. Plus, if you know React, you can also learn Vue after that. It has a similar logic but a little bit different syntax. So if you know React, you can either apply also for Vue jobs or learn it very quickly when needed. Angular is a little bit different, but again, it depends on what you choose. So again, my personal recommendation is always React, but the most important thing is choose one. Do not learn them all. It just doesn't make any sense. Pick one and go deep. And here I mean deep. Frameworks help you build scalable applications faster, but it is important to understand what is happening under the hood, how things work, what problems might come up, and how to solve them. Because in interviews, if you choose React, you will most likely be asked questions about React. So it is important not only to know basics, but to really understand it well and prepare yourself properly. So at this point, you can already apply for a job as a junior developer, but of course you never stop learning. And now it's time to level up your skills. You can start with TypeScript, for example. In simple words, TypeScript is basically JavaScript with type checking. It means you define types of data that you get from backend, what your functions return, what arguments they accept, and so on. It is important for eliminating some bugs that are connected to data type. At the same time, you can go deeper into state management. You will actually touch this topic while learning React, but it is important to understand what libraries exist and what is going on there. There are many options there. Some people prefer Redux, some use smaller ones like Zustand, and for example, in one of our projects, we even try to avoid any global state management and rely only on React query. So there are many approaches, and it is good to understand them and to know which one to choose depending on the project. After that, you can look into testing. You do not need to spend too much time on it in the beginning. Just understand what tools exist, like Jest, and be able to write basic unit tests. To be honest, in my 6 years of experience, I rarely wrote tests in the front-end project. Usually they are needed only for complex logic, and in many companies there are QA engineers who usually handle testing and tools like Cypress. So I wouldn't recommend to spend too much time on testing unless the job description really requires it. Then you can explore performance optimization, understanding why some applications become slow and how to improve them. And accessibility, please don't skip it. This is a very important topic, and it's not as easy as many people think, and it's also not so frightening as many people think. If you already understand accessibility from the very beginning, you will already stand out from many other candidates, and you will build applications that users actually enjoy using instead of struggling with bad user experience. This is what already starts to separate junior developers from middle-level developers. Also, now of course AI became a big part of development process. That is why if you want to stay modern and to understand what is happening in the industry, you should explore how AI is used in development. Learn what AI tools exist and how to use them. But in my opinion, it is important not to rely on AI too much while learning. You need to understand what is going on and build a strong foundation. So if you ask ChatGPT create a website, first of all, you want to understand what bugs it creates and what mistakes it makes, and you won't be able to debug or fix them properly. You can start trusting AI when you are already on the mid or senior level, where you actually can review the code and understand whether it is correct or not. But when you are in the beginning or when you are a junior developer, it's much better to debug by yourself and try to fix everything by yourself. It might feel slower, but it definitely pays off in a long run. But again, you still should learn how AI works, for example, what tools are used, how LLMs work, and what AI-assisted coding means. Because AI-assisted coding doesn't mean to ask AI to build everything for you. Instead, you use it to ask questions. For example, like, why does this function behave this way? Or why does it return this result? And used like this, AI can be incredibly helpful for learning. I personally use it to understand concepts better. I ask it for simple explanations and then ask follow-up questions. So the key is to always understand what it tells you. It is also important to learn how to write good prompts. If you just say, this doesn't work, why, you are not going to get a proper answer. and then you will just get frustrated. So learn how to ask clear, specific questions. You can also explore different tools and ecosystems like coding assistants, agents, MCPs, and tools such as ChatGPT, Cursor, Copilot, Claude, or Gemini, and understand when to use which one of them. But again, AI shouldn't be your single source of truth, and it shouldn't write code for you. If you want to become a strong developer, you need to write code yourself. And meanwhile, you can start improving your skills in code reviews, refactoring, and documentation. It is very important to read other people's code to see how they write, what mistakes they make, and what good code looks like. This helps you understand what clean code means, improve your variable naming, and learn how to structure code better. And writing documentation is also very important, because when you can explain something, it usually means you truly understand it. And of course, there are some advanced topics that you only need when you already decide to become a senior developer. This includes things like design systems, architecture, deployment. But again, you only get there when you already have many years of experience. Another point is databases. They are often listed in job descriptions, but you do not need to master them as a front-end developer. You just need to understand the types of databases that exist, when to use which one, and the basics how to work with them. In most cases, databases are more back-end developers topic, so don't stress too much about it. And here is my personal advice. When you reach already a mid-level position, I suggest to choose one specific area to specialize in. For example, I chose accessibility. I dive really deep into it, and I'm still learning, because it's always a process, and I try to understand as much as I can in order to become an expert in it. You can choose anything that interests you: scaling, performance, usability, deployment, CI/CD, testing, whatever resonates with you. Pick one area and try to become an expert. Why is this important? It will help you stand out among other candidates. Think about it. Companies usually get 100 CVs where people know the same languages, know the same frameworks, use the same technologies. But if one candidate knows a little bit more about performance, they see that he writes articles, that he had few presentations at some conferences. That is much more impressive. And specializing in one such area can actually get you invited to the interview. And probably the most important part, build as many projects as you can while learning. You can start, as I mentioned, with something simple while learning the basics. It could be a portfolio website, a to-do app, a weather app, nothing fancy. And yes, there are thousands of people doing the same thing. So if you have a bit of creativity, try to turn them into something more outstanding or unique. That will give you a big advantage. If possible, promote your project somewhere on social media, TikTok, Instagram, especially LinkedIn. Eventually, these projects are more important for your learning and for your personal brand. Because to be honest, during all interviews that I had, only few people really looked at my GitHub. So it is more for your own learning. It is how you understand concepts, remember them, and learn to solve problems. Because by building real projects, debugging and figuring out solutions, you learn so much more than just by watching tutorials and reading. Once you're comfortable, start building more complicated projects, dashboards, full applications, apps connected to APIs. The more problems you solve, the better you become. So finally, a quick reality check with the roadmap that I linked in the description below. It looks, in my opinion, a little bit too overwhelming, having too many things on it. So don't think that you have to learn everything. It's a guide, not a checklist. Focus on core skills, one framework, real project. That's how you're going to shine. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and if you have specific questions or suggestions, drop a comment below. Have a great day wherever you are, and happy coding!